Do you remember American Pickers? The show that took us on treasure hunts through barns and basements across America, searching for rusty gold? Ever wondered what happened to the cast? Where they are and the heartbreak each one had to endure? Join us as we reveal the tragedy that tore this family apart. The white van rolled down America's backroads for 15 years. Inside, two childhood friends laughed, argued, and discovered forgotten treasures that told the story of our nation. But behind the cameras, behind the rusty motorcycles and vintage signs, a different story was unfolding. One of betrayal, of illness, of friendships broken beyond repair. This is the story of what really happened to the people we invited into our homes every week. And it starts with a goodbye no one saw coming. Frank Fritz. The stroke came without warning on a July morning in 2022. Fans knew Frank Fritz as the bearded charmer with an infectious laugh and encyclopedic knowledge of vintage motorcycles. He was the yin to Mike's yang, the laid-back picker who could spot a rare 1,960 seconds oil can from 50 feet away. For over 300 episodes, Frank brought warmth and authenticity to American Pickers. He was the friend we all wished we had, the guy who'd spend hours talking about your grandfather's tool collection like it was the most fascinating thing in the world. But Frank's final years were marked by unimaginable pain. His relationship with Mike Wolfe, his best friend of over 40 years, had deteriorated into bitter silence. After back surgery in 2020 left him with 185 stitches and 2 metal rods in his spine, Frank expected his childhood friend to check in on him. Mike never called. The silence cut deeper than any surgical blade. Then came the public firing in July 2021. While Frank recovered and got sober, losing 65 pounds and completing 77 days in rehab for alcoholism, the show moved on without him. Mike's brother Robbie took his spot. No one asked if Frank wanted to return. The betrayal was complete. Frank's health continued to spiral. He battled Crohn's disease, a chronic digestive condition that caused constant pain. His engagement to Diane Bankson fell apart, leaving him emotionally devastated. He suffered not one, but multiple strokes, each one stealing more of his vitality. The final stroke came on September 30th, 2024, when Frank's body finally surrendered. He died peacefully in his Davenport home, surrounded by friends. Mike Wolfe rushed from Tennessee to be by his bedside, holding his hand as he took his last breath. They had reconciled just months earlier in a tearful reunion where they laughed about their appearance on David Letterman and cried over the years they'd lost to pride and misunderstanding. Frank Fritz was 60 years old. Today, his antique shop in Savannah, Illinois, Frank Fritz Finds, stands as a memorial to a man who taught America that every rusty piece of metal has a story worth telling. And just as one heart stopped beating, another story of loss emerged from the show's history: Bob Peterson. Bob Peterson never sought the spotlight, but his wisdom shaped the picker who became famous. Bob appeared in only 5 episodes of American Pickers, yet his impact on Mike Wolfe's life was immeasurable. He was Mike's mentor, the man who taught him how to see value where others saw junk. When cameras captured Bob's weathered hands examining a vintage motorcycle part or sharing stories about forgotten American manufacturing, viewers glimpsed the soul of what made Mike Wolfe the picker he became. Mike had known Bob for decades before the show began. Bob ran a small restoration shop where a young Mike would spend hours learning the craft of preservation. Bob didn't just teach Mike about antiques. He taught him about integrity, about respecting the history embedded in every object, about treating people with dignity, whether they had treasures or trash. When Bob passed away on September 27, 2022, Mike was devastated. He posted a lengthy tribute on Instagram, writing that we lost a man that we looked to as a mentor and that Bob was an example of how to live life correctly. The pain in Mike's words was palpable. He had lost his father figure, his teacher, his friend. Bob died peacefully at home, though the cause of death was never publicly revealed. He left behind a legacy not in fame or fortune, but in the lives he touched and the knowledge he shared. His funeral was attended by dozens of people whose lives he had quietly influenced over the years. Today, Mike continues Bob's legacy by mentoring younger pickers and restorers, passing forward the lessons Bob taught him decades ago. The deaths of Frank and Bob left holes in the American Pickers family that could never be filled. But death wasn't the only tragedy that struck those connected to the show. Mike Wolfe. Mike Wolfe created American Pickers when he was just another picker with a dream, and that dream cost him nearly everything. As the face of the show, Mike seemed to have it all: fame, fortune, 2 thriving antique shops, a devoted fan base. But success came with a price tag his marriage couldn't afford. His wife Jody Fayeth filed for divorce in November 2020 after nearly a decade of marriage and 30 years together. The court documents were brutal in their honesty. Jody stated that all hopes of reconciliation are exhausted and that they were unable to successfully live together. The separation had actually occurred in June 2020, meaning Mike spent months on camera smiling and joking while his family crumbled. Jody walked away with their Nashville home, their North Carolina property, over $5 million in cash, $634,000 in alimony, a percentage of his American Pickers royalties through 2026, and primary custody of their daughter Charlie. Mike pays $2,100 monthly in child support and sees his daughter just over 130 days per year. The divorce devastated Mike. He rarely spoke about it publicly, retreating into work as filming continued relentlessly. Then came the public feud with Frank, his best friend since childhood. Mike was accused of pushing Frank out, of prioritizing the show over their friendship, of abandoning Frank when he needed support most. The accusations weren't entirely unfair. When Bob Peterson died in September 2022, Mike posted a heartbroken tribute calling Bob his mentor and father figure. He was losing everyone who mattered. Frank's stroke that same summer only deepened Mike's guilt and grief. Mike's relationship with his new girlfriend, Letitia Klein, brought criticism too. Fans accused him of trading his wife for a younger Playboy model, though Letitia herself is a cancer survivor, councilwoman, and accomplished motorcycle racer. The online bullying became so intense that Letitia had to address it directly. In 2024, Mike closed his Nashville antique archaeology location, citing a desire to pursue new projects. He announced American Pickers would go on hiatus after season 27. At 60 years old, Mike seems exhausted, ready to step away from the cameras that captured his greatest success and deepest failures. Today, Mike lives quietly when not filming, focusing on his relationship with Charlie and building a new future with Leticia. He has launched a new show, America's Greatest Picks, suggesting a fresh start away from the memories that haunt American Pickers. He has also made his acting debut in the film Day of Reckoning, Jody Fayeth. Jody Fayeth spent 18 years waiting for a ring and 9 years watching her marriage dissolve from the inside. Jody met Mike in 1994 when they were young, and he was just a picker with big dreams. She believed in him before anyone else did. She waited patiently while he built his business, while he pitched the show, while he became famous. They finally married in September 2012 at a small "Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?" themed wedding in Leipers Fork, Tennessee. But marriage to Mike meant being alone. While Mike traveled America hunting treasures, Jody stayed home raising their daughter Charlie, who was born with a cleft palate and lip requiring multiple reconstructive surgeries. Jody became mother, father, caregiver, and cheerleader while Mike chased rust and fame. Then cancer came. In September 2013, Jody was diagnosed with stage 2 non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. The diagnosis shocked her. She ate vegan, exercised religiously, juiced daily. Believe it or not, even vegan, exercising, juicing, mamas get cancer. She told the Glow magazine, her voice carrying the bewilderment of someone whose body had betrayed every healthy choice. The treatment was excruciating. Chemotherapy, radiation, the constant fear. Mike stood by her through it all, and in May 2014, Jody was declared cancer-free. Their family celebrated. They had beaten the odds. They would grow old together. But survival didn't save the marriage. The years of being alone, of raising Charlie through surgeries and recovery, of building a life around Mike's absence, had taken their toll. By June 2020, they separated. 5 months later, Jody filed for divorce. The settlement left Jody financially secure but emotionally scarred. She took the Nashville mansion filled with memories, the North Carolina property where they'd planned to retire, over $6 million total. But money doesn't heal loneliness or erase 30 years of partnership ending in silence. Today, Jody lives quietly with Charlie and her adult son Kyle from a previous relationship. She works as an accountant and fiercely protects her privacy. She has taught Charlie to be confident despite the surgical scars, to be strong despite watching her parents' love story end. She rarely speaks about Mike, about the show, about what might have been if he'd chosen family over fame. Danielle Colby, the queen of Rust, nearly lost everything to pain no one could see. Danielle Colby brought fierce energy to American Pickers from the very first episode in 2010. As the office manager of antique archaeology, she was the glue holding Mike's business together, fielding leads, managing sales, keeping chaos organized. Fans loved her colorful style, her extensive tattoos, her enthusiasm for burlesque dancing. But in 2022, Danielle vanished from the show without explanation. Fans panicked, rumors swirled. The truth was far more painful than anyone imagined. Danielle was bleeding constantly, experiencing excruciating pain that doctors initially dismissed. It seemed like the bleeding never stopped, the agony never relented. She felt held back from opportunities because she couldn't control the pain consuming her life. Finally, Mike's girlfriend, Letitia, urged her to see a specialist. The diagnosis was uterine fibroids, non-cancerous growths causing unbearable symptoms. Danielle's doctor recommended a complete hysterectomy. She underwent the surgery in October 2022, facing not just physical trauma, but profound emotional upheaval. The recovery was brutal. Danielle documented her depression on Patreon, writing, "While I'm incredibly thankful to have family accessible to me and have such wonderful children who will drop everything to help take care of me, the depression during this time has been very real." She suffered back pain and muscle spasms so severe she thought something had gone terribly wrong. She couldn't do the burlesque dancing that defined her identity for 4 months. Just as Danielle recovered and returned to American Pickers for season 24, new tragedy struck. In December 2024, she announced serious health issues affecting a family member, canceling all burlesque performances indefinitely to care for them. She wouldn't specify who or what, only that her family needed her. Through it all, Danielle has shown remarkable resilience. She married Alexandre de Meyer in February 2024, finding love and support. She opened the Igdicias Museum celebrating burlesque history. She continues managing antique archaeology while raising her 2 children, Miles and Memphis. Today, Danielle remains on American Pickers, though fans worry about the toll these health crises have taken. She posts occasionally about her burlesque performances and museum work, always smiling, always strong, never letting anyone see how much weight she carries. Charlie Faith Wolfe. Charlie never asked to be born on camera or have her childhood examined by millions. Born on January 30th, 2012, Charlie came into a world of vintage motorcycles and reality television. Her birth was joyous, but complications were immediately apparent. Charlie had a cleft palate and lip, a developmental disorder requiring multiple reconstructive surgeries throughout her childhood. "We cried when we found out," Mike admitted to Isabel Bloom magazine. The surgeries were successful, but they left scars. Physical scars that would fade with time, emotional scars that might never fully heal. Then when Charlie was 8, her mother was diagnosed with cancer. Jody fought through chemotherapy while raising Charlie, teaching her to be strong, to be confident, to face challenges head-on. Charlie watched her mother's strength and learned resilience. Just as life seemed stable, her parents separated when Charlie was 8 years old. By 9, the divorce was final. Charlie's entire world shifted. Her father, who was already gone most of the year filming, now lived in a different house entirely. Court documents show she lives with her mother 230.5 days per year, seeing her father less than half the time. Mike posts occasionally about Charlie on social media, calling her his brown-eyed baby girl and expressing wonder at how fast she's growing. But those posts carry an undercurrent of sadness, of time lost to work and fame, of a relationship strained by circumstance. Charlie inspired her parents to work with Operation Smile, a charity providing surgical care to children with cleft lips and palates worldwide. "Charlie inspires us to be better people," Jody once said. Through Charlie's challenges, her parents found purpose beyond their own pain. Today, Charlie is 13 years old, navigating adolescence while processing her parents' divorce, her mother's cancer history, and growing up as that girl from American Pickers. She attends school in Tennessee, protected fiercely by both parents from the public eye. Her future remains unwritten, but her past has already held more hardship than most children ever face. Diane Bankson. Diane Bankson thought she'd found forever with Frank Fritz, but addiction and illness destroyed their chance at happiness. Diane met Frank before he became famous, before American Pickers made him a household name. She loved the real Frank, the man who could spend hours talking about vintage motorcycles and obscure Americana. Their relationship survived his rise to fame, the grueling filming schedule, the pressures of public life. When Frank proposed, Diane said yes without hesitation. They planned a future together, a life beyond cameras and antiques, but Frank's demons were stronger than their love. Frank had battled alcoholism for years, a struggle he kept mostly private until it became impossible to hide. His 77 days in rehab in 2021 came after years of drinking, of using alcohol to numb the pain from his back surgery, from his feud with Mike, from the betrayal he felt when the show fired him. The engagement crumbled. Diane watched the man she loved spiral into addiction and health crises. She tried to support him, to stand by him, but loving an addict means sometimes loving someone who can't love themselves. The relationship ended, leaving both parties heartbroken but alive. In 2020, during their split, Diane sued Frank, though details of the lawsuit remain private. Friends say it involved financial disagreements and the emotional toll of Frank's addictions. The lawsuit was settled, but the relationship never recovered. When Frank suffered his debilitating stroke in July 2022, Diane wasn't there. She had moved on, protecting her own mental health and future. She did not attend his funeral in 2024 when he finally lost his battle with multiple health conditions. Today, Diane lives quietly, her name only appearing in connection to Frank's tragic story. She has rebuilt her life away from the cameras, away from the man she once planned to marry. She represents the collateral damage of fame and addiction, the one who loved someone famous and paid the price. Wolfe. Wolfe stepped into his brother's show hoping to help. Instead, he became the target of fan rage he never deserved. As Mike's younger brother, Robbie had been around American Pickers since its inception. He occasionally appeared in early seasons, usually helping transport vehicles or providing mechanical expertise. When Frank was fired in 2021, Mike needed someone to fill the void. Robbie seemed like the natural choice, but Robbie isn't Frank. He's quieter, more serious, less charismatic on camera. Fans immediately noticed. The chemistry between Mike and Frank, built over 40 years of friendship, couldn't be replicated by blood alone. Robbie tried his best, but viewers were merciless. Social media exploded with criticism. Robbie is boring. He has no personality. He's ruining the show. Fans boycotted episodes featuring Robbie. They demanded Frank's return even after his stroke left him unable to work. The History Channel's ratings plummeted, and Robbie bore the blame. Please don't pair Jersey with Robbie and tell Robbie to quit being such a frickin' grouch. One fan wrote under an episode preview. Comments like these appeared by the hundreds. Robbie was called grouchy, dull, a poor replacement, a ratings killer. The vitriol was relentless and deeply personal. Robbie hadn't asked for this. He stepped up to help his brother, save the show they'd both poured their lives into. Instead of gratitude, he received hatred. Instead of a chance to prove himself, he was judged against a ghost. The pressure has taken its toll. Robbie appears uncomfortable on camera now, his movements stiff, his smile forced. He knows every word he says, every reaction he gives, will be compared to Frank and found wanting. It's an impossible standard, a no-win situation that makes him defensive and withdrawn. Today, Robbie continues appearing on American Pickers, though rumors suggest he's considering retirement from television. He runs his own antique business and excels at restoration work, particularly with vintage vehicles. But the joy has faded. Being on camera feels like judgment rather than adventure. He wants to help his brother, but he's paying an emotional price no amount of screen time is worth. Jersey John Zale. John Zale earned his nickname working New Jersey's motorcycle shops, but American Pickers brought him pressure he never anticipated. Jersey John, as fans know him, specializes in early 1900s motorcycles and vintage woodworking. He appeared occasionally in Season 7 as an expert consultant, bringing infectious enthusiasm and deep knowledge. When Frank left the show, John was tapped to fill the picker role alongside Mike. John brought something Frank never had: pure, unbridled joy. His excitement when discovering a rare vintage bike part was genuine, childlike, beautiful. Fans loved his energy. Loving this new series, particularly loved Jersey John's enthusiasm, one viewer wrote. Another added, he brings so much to the show. But praise came with impossible expectations. John wasn't just Jersey John anymore, he was Frank's replacement. Every episode, he felt the weight of comparison. Was he asking the right questions? Making the right deals? Would Frank have done it better? The internal pressure was crushing. John also faced the reality that his role was contingent on ratings. If fans turned on Tim like they'd turned on Robbie, he'd be gone. Every moment on camera became a performance, an audition for continued employment. The spontaneity that made him lovable in early appearances became calculated, self-conscious. His background as a motorcycle expert also limited his appeal. When episodes focused on motorcycles, John shined. But American Pickers covers everything from vintage toys to old signs to agricultural equipment. John sometimes seemed out of his depth, less confident, more deferential to Mike's expertise. The power dynamic was clear. Mike was the star, John was the helper. Despite the pressure, John has persevered. He continues restoring vintage motorcycles when not filming, running his own business, and pursuing his passion for American automotive history. He genuinely loves the work, loves the hunt, loves bringing forgotten pieces of history back to life. Today, Jersey John appears regularly on American Pickers, having earned his place through authenticity and expertise. But he knows his role is precarious, dependent on fan approval and network decisions beyond his control. He's grateful for the opportunity while quietly understanding it could end any day. Letitia Klein. Letitia Klein never asked to be called a homewrecker, but dating Mike Wolfe made her a target for strangers' rage. Letitia is a cancer survivor, councilwoman, motorcycle racer, journalist, and preservationist from Kentucky. She appeared on the reality dating show Beauty and the Geek in 2008, long before meeting Mike. Her life was full and purposeful before American Pickers entered the picture. She met Mike sometime before April 2021, months after his separation from Jody, but before the divorce was public. When their relationship went public in August 2021, the backlash was immediate and vicious. Fans accused Letitia of breaking up Mike's marriage, of being a gold digger, of replacing Jody with someone younger and prettier. The accusations were baseless. Mike and Jody had separated in June 2020, over a year before Mike and Letitia went public. But facts didn't matter to angry fans. Social media exploded with hateful comments, body shaming, accusations, and threats. The bullying became so intense that Letitia had to address it directly. "I've faced a lot of negativity," Letitia admitted in interviews. Being with Mike meant accepting constant scrutiny, having her every photo analyzed, her every word dissected for signs she was unworthy of America's favorite picker. It meant defending a relationship that made her happy against strangers who wanted her to fail. Letitia has also faced her own health battles. As a cancer survivor, she understands suffering, understands fragility, understands that life is too short to waste on other people's opinions. She volunteers with the Distinguished Gentleman's Ride, raising money for prostate cancer research. She works on heritage tourism projects, preserving Kentucky's history. Her relationship with Mike seems genuine. They share a love of motorcycles, adventure, and antiques. They travel together when schedules allow, maintaining separate homes but visiting frequently. Letitia has been introducing herself to the world of picking, potentially preparing to join American Pickers cast if their relationship continues. Today, Letitia and Mike remain together, having weathered criticism and built something real. She continues her work as a councilwoman and journalist, refusing to let her relationship with a famous man define her entire identity. But the bullying left scars, reminders that loving someone famous means being judged by people who don't know you at all. If this journey through the American Pickers family touched your heart, please subscribe and share this video. These stories matter. These people matter. And remembering what they endured helps us appreciate the entertainment they provided through their pain. Hit that like button if you believe every person, like every antique, deserves to have their story told with compassion and truth.